Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, you don't laugh sometimes, you're gonna cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Yeah. Welcome, moms. Welcome to Inside the Moms Club. And we are here at the very first live taping of Inside the Moms Club here from our hometown of Austin, Texas. And thank you, ladies, for joining us. This is amazing. So I'm your host, Monica Samuels, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Orchid.
I am so happy to be here today.
I am thrilled to be here in this beautiful store, Hearth and Soul in Austin. If you are ever in Austin, you definitely need to stop by Hearth and Soul. They have gorgeous things.
I've been known to hang out, shop,
I've been known to buy a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great store. So they've been gracious too. We've just really loved our time, and they've been terrific. We have been doing this show for 3 years. This is going on our 7th season. And we have gotten to do some really fun things and talk to some interesting people. We've interviewed Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie.
We've done Susan Olsen, aka Cindy Brady. And we can't really unsee the pigtails or the braids.
Yeah, we went through
when we were talking.
A pigtail phase on our guests, it seems like. We interviewed Kim Holderness from the Holderness family. And she has been won the Amazing Race on CBS.
I find that stressful, but okay.
Well, Julie and I at one point, we thought we would do that together, and then we decided that was a really bad idea.
Bad idea.
And then we also interviewed Taylor Dane, the amazing Taylor Dane.
I'm not going to sing, but y'all, we know that song. It's in my heart. Yeah,
and we love her. She came with us, so we also participated in the MS Gala in Los Angeles on the red carpet, and Taylor came and joined us, and she's been an amazing supporter of our show. Yeah. So we have had some terrific...
and another perk of the job is, I'm fascinated with Dances with the Stars, maybe because I want to be a dancer, but that was a big deal a few weeks ago.
We did get to go to Dancing with the Stars, and we met Barry Williams, a.k.a. Greg Brady, so we have 4 more Bradys to go. Yeah. So, and I love Peter Brady, so if he's listening anywhere, we would be happy to meet him as well. So, this has been an amazing 3 years, and we're looking forward to the future where we're going to travel around the country and meet all of you. Now, what we normally do, and then what we've done for the last 3 years, and we're still going to do it, is we travel to Los Angeles and we record this show in a studio. And that means that Julie and I travel together a lot, and we have shared a lot of hotel rooms, and in one case we even had to share a king-size bed.
You really get to know who your close friends are when you're sharing a king-size bed, a hotel room. You get to know all our ins and outs.
If you're still friends after that, and we text every once in a while now. We're still happy to see each other. So that's good. And the good news about this is, so we decided, okay, we're going to go on the road. So to go on the road, what would be better than to go down the road from our house? So we wanted to start in our hometown. And the great news about that is, this is the first time we've ever done this show where we got to sleep in our own bed last night. Yeah. Or at least I slept in my own bed last night.
Are you assuming I didn't sleep in my own bed?
I'm just asking.
When you are single, you get to be the butt of a bunch of jokes that I can handle. So, for the record, I slept at home.
Well, good. So good. That means we both got a good night's sleep last night. So that's positive. Yeah. The other thing that's different about the show now is that when we're in LA, we have to only worry about what we're wearing from the waist up because we're at a desk.
Yes.
This show, we had to worry about what we were wearing. And so I wanted to create my entire outfit around my amazing boots that I got.
From the ground up.
From the ground up.
Used to doing.
Yes.
Pants are optional on podcasts.
Well, for some co-hosts, they're optional. I'm fully dressed, so when you're listening, you know that that's the case.
Yeah.
But I almost did not get to wear my boots because last week there was a calamity at my house. A side table, a marble top side table, collapsed and fell on my foot.
Yeah.
And being a recovering attorney, the very first thing I thought of was, who is liable for this?
I mean, that's valid.
Yeah.
As an attorney, I think, you know,
And then,
you may think that for a second.
And then my husband said, I think it was you. And I'm like, that's, okay, we're going to move on from that. So then my next question was, is my foot broken? So who better to contact but my co-host and recovering nurse friend, Julie.
Right.
And what did you tell me?
Well, I was really empathetic. I was like, listen, shove your foot in that boot. You are fine. And your foot is not broken. And, you know, you kind of are a little bit of a hypochondriac.
Yes.
So,
in fact, that's how she started. She said, you know you're a hypochondriac, so let's start with it. So that gave me a challenge.
I have to keep it real.
Yeah. Well, then I was determined to get my foot in this boot. So my swollen foot is in this boot, and
you look amazing.
When the swelling goes down, I will take it off. But I hope you're enjoying it otherwise, because there was a lot of effort to get dressed for this. Let me tell you a little bit about the show and where it started. So I co-wrote a book called Comeback Moms, and we decided from that we would do a podcast. And what we wanted to do was do a podcast that focused on the friendships that women have. Women have very unique friendships. And in our case, we became friends with a group of other friends through our kids' school. They were all friends, or they played on the baseball team together or managed the baseball team. Some dated for a week and broke up. Some are still dating. And yet we became friends and have stayed friends. So we travel together and we just support each other.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. Now, some women have asked me, well, is this just a show for moms? And we focus a lot on moms issues and parent issues. But it's not just for that. It's about the friendships that women have. And because women form friendships in all kinds of ways. There's your sorority sisters. There's my mom's bridge club. They played bridge one time, and then they were forever for 50 years the bridge club, but that was the bridge club.
Because they played one time.
They did, so that qualified them. Right. And then there's the Mahjong club. There's the pickleball team. You know, there's all kinds.
It's great, and I love learning new things. But this whole, I mean, why can't we stick to Uno, tennis? Like, why do we have to complicate, you know?
You don't like pickleball?
No, I love pickleball. I don't want any hate mail. I love it. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I love pickleball. And if you get hate mail, first letter be for me, because I love pickleball. And the reason I love pickleball is because everybody that listens to the show knows I'm horrible as a cook. I'm awful.
Yeah.
And pickleball is the one place where I can be competent around the kitchen.
Oh my God. All right, Monica, I'll give you that one.
On that note,
love that joke.
Now that you've heard all about our show, we are thrilled to introduce our exciting guest. Mm-hmm. She is an actress, an author, a mom. She starred in the CBS hit show Northern Exposure. She was a co-star with Sylvester Stallone in the film Cliffhanger. And she's written several books, but her newest book is called The Pivot Principle, Finding Joy in Despair. Please give a big Austin, Texas welcome to our fellow Texan, Janine Turner. Welcome to the Mom.
In Texas.
That's right.
How many say y'all all? We're supposed to say y'all, but sometimes I say y'all all. I'm like, oh, that was such bad English.
Love it.
Y'all's good English,
y'all,
right?
How y'all doing?
That is great English. Well, speaking of English, you've written an amazing book.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've read it. I love it. It spoke to me, and I think everyone here in this room, because it's about getting through anguish and have, depression, things like that, and trauma sometimes. And we all lived through COVID. Mm-hmm. And I was recently at the grocery store, and I walked by the front door, and I thought, I'm having PTSD from the times I had to stand in line out waiting for my turn to go into the store. So We've all
you still
experienced-
stand 6 feet back, right?
That's right, yeah. So tell us, what was the inspiration? What made you decide to write the pivot principle?
Well, as a mother, and when our kids go off to college, yeah, I call that was sort of like my gap year, my gap years of trying to figure out. Okay, I've been acting since I was a young girl, and then I was a mom, and when I was a mom, I was a mom. I still worked, but I decided to live in Texas and raise her in Texas, and so I put my career on the back burner, and then she goes off to college, and so there's this time of like, okay, well, who am I? And I'm a single mother, so and there are a lot of women who are like, yay, lucky you, but I hear that a lot of women my age. I'm in my 60s, so like, you did it, good for you. But it can be really lonely because I only had my one daughter. So it's like, oh, I'm alone and I'm out here and I'm on this ranch and who am I? So it's trying to figure out who I am again. And then COVID hit, and so I was sort of living in the subconscious, the echo of my own subconscious, alone on 300 acres. And then my daughter was with me for COVID, and then she went off to be with her boyfriend for COVID. And I'm like, okay, bye. So it was really rough. It was a little bit rough. And then I found that, I had this sort of linear trauma. And it kind of emerged for me during this echo of my subconscious when I was alone. So I thought, so it was a little bit of a rough time. And but I learned a lot through my despair. And what I did is I just put pen to paper and just started writing because I've always written poetry. And I thought, okay, let me just write. And that is one of my pivot principles. Whether you're a good, I don't think my poetry's any good. I just write it, but I did get a good review. I was like, but I wrote this poetry in the book. Some of them are pivot principles. It's just self-help wrapped around poetry. But I wrote it in the throes of despair. Tears, sobbing, whatever. I just took the pen and started to write. And then I learned a lot. I learned about the amygdala and the emotional aspect of the brain and the fight or flight, the reptilian reaction to things. That I hate to say the word trigger, but trauma does get triggered. So I thought I'd share it. So that's a very long answer, and I could go on.
Well, it's a great.
So there are 5 pivot principles about how to get out.
And as you said, the first one is writing. So do you write? If you recommend to the women out there, write for yourself, or you publish it in a book?
Well, I didn't write it to publish a book.
That's what I was going to say. To some people, you're supposed to think, okay, what if my child pulls this book up and I've put my whole soul into? I mean, what was your? Because you're recommending for people
there's a lot
to
of
put
my soul in that book.
Well, there is.
There's a lot of my soul in that book.
That's what I'm wondering. Like when you make a recommendation, like what do you think you should just write? Bare your soul here and then burn it in a.
I did when I was writing in the middle of a panic attack or an anxiety attack. I was never thinking it was going to be published. It was purely. What I've learned is that if you're in the middle of a panic or anxiety or trauma, you have to turn back on the logical side of the brain, because in the MRIs they've discovered that during trauma, or if it's triggered, that the amygdala, the reptilian survival mechanism, lights up and goes into overdrive. So you have to turn back on the logical side. And so the writing was one of the things that helped me do that. So it was really survival. And I didn't really think I would ever publish it. But then when I was finished, I'm like, wow, I've learned so much about how, and look, I think social media is filled with, look at me. It makes me really depressed to go on Instagram. I feel like, my life is not, I don't look like that, and then my life is and we're all, have you ever realized let's take the photo, and you take the photo and then you're in an argument 5 minutes later? But people aren't seeing the real you or the real life. They're seeing this kind of, and it's very depressing even for me. I can only imagine what it does to children. So this is humble. It's like, okay, I'm going to show you who I really am, what I'm really going through. Poetry is like music. You can read it and empathize with it and go, someone else felt that way too. But then I wrapped around the regular writing of the prose of the pivot principles of how to get out of it. So I really didn't think about what someone would think of it. I guess and actors, that's what you do. You're always giving your soul, so it's kind of second nature to me. Just we'll let people read it. And I think curiosity is the cousin of humility. And I think we need more humility in our country, in our own for survival mechanisms. So this is an example of how to be humble.
Well, I'm really glad you wrote this book because I think it shows how strong of a person that you are. But you've also done a lot of other things. And I would love to know what you're most proud of projects.
Oh. Okay, I can answer that philosophically, and I can answer that career. Philosophically, I would say I would have to say faith, right? I have to have faith. I wouldn't survive anything without faith. Then my daughter. Even though she can be very cantankerous, but my daughter, and so those are some of the things. I think I'm also proud of just learning how to stair step enlightenment.
Nice.
That I keep failing. I just failed recently. I just recently is like, oh God. So I fell down a step. But if you're going up 3 or 2 and you fall down 1, then just go up 2 more and you may fall down 1. That's life. So learning to just pull myself up by the bootstraps and say, okay, I'm going to persevere and continue to, what can I learn from this? How can I be a better person? How can I be of love and service? Which is another one.
Yeah.
Career-wise, which is more fun to talk about. Enough of that. You know what they say in Hollywood? Enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? So, okay, I'm most proud of Northern Exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Northern
Really
Exposure.
touched a lot.
That's a great show. And it's streaming. Going to be streaming now, right? Yeah. And we understand you may have had something to do with it?
Yes, it was driving me crazy that the younger generations, who has a DVD player? I mean, see? Oh, yeah, okay, kinda. Yeah, like maybe I kind of have one closet DVD player, and I have a bunch of VHSs. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
Old General Hospital days.
Oh.
But I called Universal Studios. I said, guys, why isn't it being streamed? Everybody would stop me on the street, and Rob Moore and I had lunch a couple of years ago, Fleischman, and people were leaning over the railings, like, stream it. It's Fleischman, it's O'Connell. And so I called and said, guys, why aren't we streaming? Like, oh no. And actually, my preacher's wife had told me why they weren't doing it in South Lake, Texas. And she says because of the music, that the music was too expensive to license. I'm like, well, I wonder if that's really true. So I call Universal Studios and I'm like, no, we can't do it. It's going to cost millions and millions to the music.
Yeah.
She was right. How she knew and I didn't is but anyway. So I said, guys, you have to stream it. And I was like the thorn in the side. I just kept calling once a month and calling and like, no, we don't think we can. And what will they think? And I just kept massaging it.
Squeaky wheel.
Yes, I get speeches for my foundation. I always talk about the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I called back at one point and they said, no, we had it going a year later, but it's not happening now. And I said, oh no, that won't work. So I worked with them for about 3 years, and now they say, no, this wouldn't be happening without you. But I just want the show to have a legacy. Well, look, I might make 6 cents per episode. I mean, really, it's pretty sad. I don't know, maybe with the strike we'll get a little bit more. But I think the show had a beautiful message and just was really one of a kind and very special. And I wanted the younger generations, the rising generations to be able to.
Absolutely. Well, we have to thank you because they all look at streaming shows now. They don't even look as much as network TV.
They don't watch the news.
Yeah, they don't even tell them. Yeah,
They don't have TVs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't have TVs. They don't watch the news. I give speeches to kids. I'm like, where do you get your news? Instagram. It's kind of sad. It's kind of a big problem. But we won't talk about that.
Yes, we will. Well, so you decided to raise your daughter in Texas.
I did.
Now, was that a choice that you made or she drove? Because I know at one point in our family, we almost moved to Washington, D.C., and our youngest son put so many conditions on it that we were like, okay, we'll stay here. So what was the driving force behind that you decided?
You like to have more than one child too, so when one's cantankerous, you have another.
That is so true. Trust me.
Yeah. But then someone said, no, they just all gang up on you. I thought, well,
that's true too, actually. Yeah, that's true.
Well, after Northern Exposure, I had moved to New York City at the age of 15, and then I moved to Hollywood at 17. So when Northern Exposure was picked up for 50 episodes, which never happens, I didn't even think I wanted to move back to Texas. But because you had to be in LA or New York back then, you couldn't record yourself like you can today. You had to live in New York or LA. And the minute Northern Exposure was picked up for 50, I was like, ranch, horse, pickup truck.
Yeah.
Texas. And I did that. I looked for a ranch and I bought a horse and a pickup. Mary Corbin and I, Northern Exposure, would ride on set with spurs and we had a horse. And I wanted to move back to Texas. So when Northern Exposure wrapped, I did move back to Texas. And then my pregnancy occurred with my daughter. And so I tried. I did a series with Whoopi Goldberg in LA for a little while, but I just really wanted to be home. I wanted to be home in Texas. I wanted to raise Juliet in Texas.
Good decision.
And I wanted to raise her around family because I'm a single mom. Her dad just wasn't around.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to raise her in the great state of Texas.
I love it. Absolutely. So, Janine, I have a 21-year-old daughter, and a lot of people in here have children that are off to college, and she desperately wanted to know what you were doing when you were 21. So, what were you doing when you were in your 20s? You can get 21, 22, 23. We would love to know where you were in your life.
At 21?
At 21. And if that means that, you were, kissing Alec Baldwin or if I'm just kidding, but they would like to know.
Actually, I was.
Well, okay, that's a story. But, basically, because a lot of people here have kids that are off to kind of do a little bit of what you did, and they just kind of want to know, when you were young like that, and how it started, and where you were.
Well, it's interesting at 21. I felt like I was old and a failure at 21 because Brooke Shields was my contemporary, and she had made it at such a young age. And I was in Hollywood. I was in New York modeling at 15, and in Hollywood at 17. And I had worked, but never had a big break. But I was starred on General Hospital. Does anybody remember that? You're so young. Okay, we're talking 1980 or 80. Demi Moore and I were sisters on General.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah.
Laura Templeton
Luke
and
Laura.
Luke and Laura. We were right after Luke and Laura.
Oh, okay.
Laura went off in the fog, and I came in the fog. And I had long blonde hair. So I for a year I just walked around and said I was hypnotized by David Gray. And so I would say, I don't know, I just don't know. Someone sent a button to me that said, I don't know, I just don't know. But I was engaged to Alec Baldwin, and we met at an audition, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and I didn't get the role because they said he paid too much attention to me in the audition. But there's a lot I was doing at 20, but we were going to get married.
Yeah.
And we had the wedding planned and the dress. It was going to be in Dallas. The invitations were addressed and going out. We had everything.
Really far.
But we didn't.
Yeah.
And I remember on the side that it just was not going very well. Loved him dearly. It was very, very hard to do. But I remember he and I just remember this moment, these snapshot moments. You could write a poem about it. And I was standing on the street and he says, what will people think? And I'm like, well, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's so we didn't get married. And that was one of the most devastating times for me.
Yeah.
But through that I learned a lot about myself, and I learned about 12-step programs and things like that. So I can look back at life and say that, even though it turned out to be quite devastating, was a lesson God gave me to learn and grow in my life. And that's just the way I feel I had to look at all aspects like that.
Yeah. Good advice.
And that's what happens. And judging from, I guess if you had married, you might have 8 children. I mean,
That's right.
How many children does he have now? It's quite a few. So, well, Janine, one of the things that we love is we have our Zoomer moms, typically on the show Zoom In, and this time they are live, ladies. They are right here. So welcome, Zoomer moms. Welcome to the Moms Club. Oh, you're here. Are you the Zoomer moms?
Yes.
They're the Zoomer. Here. All of you? We have live Zoomer moms.
So where do you all live?
I live here in Austin.
Okay.
We all live
So the Texas Zoomer moms.
Yeah, the Texas Zoomer moms.
Representative of all the Zoomers.
Okay, not nationwide Zoomer moms.
No, the national
International Zoomer moms.
We do. We've had international Zoomer moms.
Well, so you're talking about philosophically about your daughter, and so obviously we're always learning from our children. So what do you think is the most important thing you've learned from your daughter over the years, from single mom to her leaving you to all that? What is the biggest thing you've learned from her?
Powerlessness.
Good answer.
That was a really devastating word, because you spend your whole life making sure they're okay. Your whole life, like, are they sick and have fever and she has croup, and here's the really good looking fireman and I'm half naked in the shower making sure my daughter, is not going to die from croup. But, getting them to the right school and the right clothes and the right food and in your whole life. And then they grow up and you realize you have to step back and let them live their life, and you're powerless. So I think that powerlessness isn't a great place to be. But that's where I've had to just turn it over to God and say, I'm not truly powerless, because God has power, and God loves her, and God loves me, and God loves us, and I'm going to step back and let him do it. But that's been really, really hard. But my gosh, my daughter's, she's my angel, right? Yeah. She's my gift from God, my angel. So from her I've learned, just that beautiful, sweet companionship that she and I have had has really, really been a treasure. She's just been a treasure. So, and love, mercy, grace. You learn all those things with her.
Absolutely, and she's been a huge success. She's at Harvard Law School, and as a mom who's always aspired to my children to go certain places, like, did you ever do any of her homework, or like how much credit do you take for her success? I mean, you can spill the beans now and say, this is me.
I was one of those who, how do you spell a word? Look it up.
That's what you should do.
I homeschooled her for 1 year in 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
And I said to her, okay, since I have a foundation, and there had been all these essays written on a particular subject. So I said, go read these essays, and then write them for children. They were by professors. So she did. And then it was published as a book by HarperCollins. And then for English, I said, write about our experiences at the ranch, because we were always getting chased by longhorns or something crazy. And so Little House on the Ranch, right? So she did it. It was published by HarperCollins, so it was fun. But I didn't write any of that. She wrote it, and she was just one of those kids that you
go do it. And that's all the kids that were one of those kids actually do end up at Harvard. I think it's all the moms like me that, talk to the teacher or whatever. Amy, welcome to the Moms Club. Tell Janine a little bit about yourself, and do you have a question?
I'm Amy from Austin. I have 2 daughters, and I want to talk a little bit about theater. I have one who's a theater child, and I know you and your daughter, so as a mother, as an aspiring theater actress, how do you navigate the world of theater? And I know that your project sounds so amazing, and your daughter's involved as well, but we'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you. Great question. Oh gosh, there's so many elements to that. Yeah. One is showbiz in itself. And the one thing I've learned about showbiz is you just have to remain tremendously strong. It was a quote by John Schlesinger, Midnight Cowboy. And I carried it around, and I found it recently. How do you deal with Hollywood? You have to remain tremendously strong about what you know you can do, and never take no for an answer. It's just no, no, no. You hear no all the time. Rejection, rejection, rejection. I mean, if you have 8 auditions a week, you don't book anything. Maybe you book something every 6. You have a job, then you don't have another one for 6. You don't know when you'll get your next job. So, it's just believing in yourself. And I have this line that it's in the musical, "Don't give up before the miracle." Yeah. So I say, just don't give up before the miracle.
That's great.
In regard to Broadway and the musical that I've written, thank you. That was during the whole COVID time. I was busy. I just stayed creative. So I wrote, but I had written this book in 2008 about Belva Lockwood. You can look her up. She was the first woman to run for president in 1884 and 1888 on the ballot. Won electoral votes from Indiana. Nobody knows about her. And so the musical's about her.
Despite of what you thought.
Yeah. So she's really cool. But theater, I'm learning, to get a show to Broadway takes 10 years. Wow. And I wrote the play, and I've made a lot of contacts in New York City, because it costs $15 million to get a musical around that time, to get to get a musical to Broadway. Wow. So you have to have a lot of investors. It's just you hear no. People look at you and go, yeah, you're going to get a musical going. Sure. But people told me that my whole life. This Texas girl that shows up at age 17 in Hollywood. Yeah, right. You just have to keep going. Before I booked Northern Exposure, I had $8 left in my name. And I was trying to get a new agent, and I called him, and he was representing to me, and he says, well, we have decided not to represent you. And I had agents since I was the age of 3, right?
Yeah.
Kim Dawson in Dallas and Wilhelmina in New York. And I said, would you like to see more tape? And he said, it wouldn't help. And when I arrived to the audition for Northern Exposure, $8 left, didn't think I could show up for one more audition. I was just like, okay, God, like a Dostoevsky novel. I'll turn it over to you, whatever you want. I just didn't want to do any more TNA, you know. I moved to New York to be a serious actress. And I had $8 left, and I walked to the audition for Northern Exposure. Didn't think I could get there. Woody Allen, not that we want to quote Woody Allen, but it's like 80% of success is showing up. Just make sure you show up. And I probably didn't quote that exactly correct, so paraphrase. But I showed up for it, and the casting director said, I don't know what these producers are thinking. We saw all of New York City's best talent last week. I was like, okay, I'll just walk on in now.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just not giving up until your opportunity. My mom used to say, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness.
Great advice. Cheryl, welcome to the Moms Club. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and you have a question for Janine.
Yes, my name's Cheryl. I have 2 boys. I try not to cry, so I do laugh a lot.
Good.
Thank you. This has been a real treat. But you had mentioned that you want Northern Exposure to have a legacy, and I'm curious what you would like your legacy, both as a mom and an actor, to be.
Oh, that's not a heavy question.
Lighthearted.
Yeah.
Oh, my legacy as a mom and an actor?
Yes.
And gosh, I think the legacy for my daughter would be, faith. My great grandmother was a pillar of the Baptist church, and my grandfather was a Methodist preacher. And I think faith is the greatest thing I can leave, because that will help her cope with life, and to learn to have a purpose with life. So to say we all have a purpose. Yeah. We're all born with like a Build-A-Bear doll, and you put the little heart in. God has given us all a purpose tucked into and we just have to not give up on it. And it doesn't have to be huge, but we have a purpose and a higher purpose. I think in our society today, people are so involved with each other or with ourselves. That's really what's our higher purpose. So I think that, and sobriety, I think, is a legacy that's really important, because that can really devastate families and lineages of legacy, and I talk about that in my book about understanding your history. So that's another heavy answer. What do I want my legacy to be with my career? Well, I kind of have 2 careers going. One is with Hollywood, and another's with my foundation. And I think that with my legacy as a career, as an actor, did it lift people up? And that's what I'm trying to do with my musical. The byline is "Don't give up before the miracle." So when you go to the musical, it's to be fun and lighthearted. But her life was like this, Belva's life. But at the end, no matter where you are in life, to be inspired about just don't give up before the miracle. And because we deal with so much depression today in our country and our children and whatnot, it's just, hey, tomorrow's a new day, and don't give up before the miracle. So how can I be of service through my career, I think, is probably the biggest legacy. And to do works that mean something. Look, in Hollywood in the 70s and 80s, it was all TNA. It was all bathing suits. And I was on 18 kidnapped. Help! I was on Knight Rider kidnapped. Help! I was on all of those men had to come rescue me. Even at Cliffhanger, I ended up getting kidnapped.
On Cliffhanger, and I was like,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, your other legacy will be when you accept the Tony Award for Belva. That'll be the ultimate. Think big. Lisa, welcome to the Moms Club, and do you tell us a little bit about yourself, and you have a question for Janine.
Hi, yeah, Lisa, also from Austin. I have 2 daughters.
Oh,
One
yay.
is hoping to be an actress.
Oh, great.
Also doing that. So you've done so much, and obviously you're just getting started on some things, but if you had it to do all over again, would you do anything differently? And if so, what would that be?
That's a hard question, because I think when you start looking at what you should have done, it can get really like, oh. And everything in my life, I used to say, led to my daughter, right? It all led to the birth of my beautiful daughter, because I think my mother said to me once, because I said, Mom, what's your legacy going to be? What are you working on? She goes, you're my legacy. I'm like, okay. So in a way, our children are our legacy. But what was your question?
If you would do anything differently.
If I would do anything differently. I guess I can look at what I did with my daughter. I think in career, what I would do differently, right? Oh gosh, there's so many things. You go, oh well, I should have taken that role, or I should have done that. But I would say I would go to college. I don't think you have to go to LA. I don't think you have to go to New York City at 15, and I don't think you have to go to LA at 17. And I graduated a year early, but I love schools, very academic. And I remember begging my father, who's a West Pointer, right? And my brother got the college education. I'm like, I want to go to college. He goes, you're already making money. I'm not going to pay for you to go have an intelligent conversation. So I just think that to have that time is really probably. I watch my daughter. She has all these friends in this kind of collegiate environment. I never had that. I was in New York, literally walking the streets, trying to find, with auditions at a very young age. And then in Hollywood, I was living in an apartment alone, and what was my day was in my little Volkswagen Rabbit diesel, not the cute convertible kind. This was the Jimmy Carter crisis, and it was kind of isolating and lonely. So I think that there's time to go ahead and go to college and have an education. So
well, that's great. Well, thank you, Zoomer moms. Thank you so much, and thank you, Janine. This has been amazing. This show always goes by way too fast, and we have.
Shut me up. I'm like, I live at a ranch, right? Sorry, see, I'm still talking. They're over here going, time. But I have to tell this last story. I live at a ranch, and when my neighbors come up, I'm like, Doc, he's going to talk forever. We'll never get away. And I've become one of those people. I'm like, let me tell you. And now I'm on the set. I'm an old timer now, right?
Wow.
Back in the day.
Right.
Well,
y'all, congratulations for what y'all do.
Well, thank you.
I'm really impressed with the
We are
team. You're trying to do something, both of you, really special with your life. You already are accomplished women in your fields, and now you're trying to go be of service with others with what you're doing. And your book, Finding Yourself, can really relate to that. So congratulations to you, what you're doing, breaking into this world.
I was just thinking I need to go buff up on my legacy and purpose after
No, are you kidding? As an ER nurse, I could never do that. I played a doctor on TV. But on TV, it's like, we can't possibly handle this!
I said that a few times.
She has
So that's a true story.
especially when it involves me.
I would not be a good ER nurse. When I was a pilot on for Northern Exposure, because my dad was a pilot, because it was Air Force Army when he graduated from West Point. And, I said, well, I could have been a good pilot. He goes, no, you wouldn't have. I'm like, why not? Because you're too emotional.
You were an amazing pilot.
I was.
You were in the show. You were amazing.
And on Northern Exposure.
Exactly.
Yes,
Well, Maggie wasn't as emotional as I am, so she was cool.
She was tough.
Well, thank you. And where can we find your book?
Oh, Amazon.com or Janine Turner. Well, Amazon, whatever. Amazon app, but Janine Turner.
Okay.
And mention your foundation, because a lot of
absolutely.
people, how you go around, and you are an amazing speaker.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I love it. No, one of your pivots is pivot to history, and I love history, as everyone knows. A friend of mine recently reminded me that I, over cocktails, explained the election of 1876. And
we had fun.
Yeah, and she still will go out with me. So, but it's called Constituting America. And can you?
William the Conqueror?
Oh yes. Yeah, we'll have to go get a drink. I have so many books. But yeah. Tell us real quick about Constituting America.
Well, I launched it, I'm the founder, in 2010, and it's nonpartisan because the Constitution is nonpartisan. It was a document written before the party system even emerged. And so I've given hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of speeches to students in the classrooms talking about why the Constitution matters and how they're really exceptional. The Declaration that as Abraham Lincoln talked about, the golden apple is that we have these rights that we declared like no one else had ever done, and the government governs on our consent, and that the Constitution was created to protect that. Abraham Lincoln said the Declaration of Independence is the golden apple, and the Constitution is the frame that protects it. So what I do is I speak in all kinds of schools, and I just want them to have hope. And to realize that it's not what the government does up there, it's you. It's you, town hall, it's your petition, it's what you can do with your First Amendment rights, and there are a billion people or plus in the world that don't have these. Yeah. And if you feel hopeless, because we deal with a lot of children that do feel hopeless, and if you feel hopeless, you live in a country where you can write a petition, and I ask them, here we go, I'll make it quick. I ask them, I say, what would you like to change? And I kind of make it local, even though we're talking. What would you like to change in your neighborhood to make it accessible in their minds? Because they're 5th grade, middle school, high school. Yeah. And they'll say, more lights, or too many dogs on a leash. Too many dogs not on a leash. Too much trash. Too many drugs.
On a leash. You're in Austin. No.
And some kids will say better brakes for small businesses. And one girl said save the platypuses. So it really doesn't matter. But I'm like, okay, you can write a petition, and you need to vote every 2 years for your representative that's in your neighborhood. So it's really having them. It's that they can learn. Why this country is really great. It's because it's not. So a lot of times they get a worksheet and they say this is how the government works up there and what they do. Well, it's not they, it's we.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
but it's nonpartisan, and it's
and another great legacy of yours that I know will absolutely live on. That's totally necessary. So we thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, and I give a shout out to Kathy Gillespie, who really makes that.
Who helped found that?
She's a CEO.
Well, thank you. I can't believe that our time has ended. It always goes by so fast, Julie.
I know.
For us, I don't know. Y'all might be like,
what we didn't say about this live show is that we have Prosecco and snacks over there, so they're going to still, and shopping.
And this great store.
This store,
yeah.
I mean, I always...
Hearth and Soul.
Yes, thank you, Hearth and Soul. Yes, absolutely. This is my go-to spot for gifts. It's 2 for you, 1 for me. That's how I do my Christmas shop. Or sometimes it's vice versa, unfortunately. So we want to thank, in fact, let's thank everyone that put this show together. The team that did it, because this is our first one live. And Hearth and Soul, of course. James Rios Studios. Trevino Entertainment. The outstanding interns from the University of Texas at Austin. Hook 'em Horrors. We want to recognize Nicole Villalpando, who from the Austin American Statesman. She put us on the map. She wrote an article about my book and Inside the Moms Club, and we want to recognize her for that. And Lori Muslow and Genesis Soul from It's All Good Entertainment. So let's thank everybody who helped put this show together. Well, our time has passed, but we will be back next time with celebrities and extraordinary moms just like you. And we know your me time is precious and valuable. Thank you, Moms of Austin, for celebrating with us. Now, I want to leave you with one thing, and that is our motto on Inside the Moms Club. It's if you don't laugh sometimes, what happens, moms? You're gonna cry. That's right. We do not cry. We laugh, 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 and have a great time. And we'll see you next time on Inside the Moms Club.